Okay, so in this performance, I just have the 4 kings and the 4 aces all the way on top. Then I just pick any 4 cards, and this technique becomes really practical when, depending on your performances, you need to switch 4 cards, 2 cards, so 1 card, any number of cards, and just for demonstration purposes, I did some sort of a pinky count, not really trying to count 8 cards, but at least I need to make sure I exceed the 4 cards, the 8 cards, because I'm using 8 for this performance, but it is actually 4 cards, the main goal, or 2 cards, like depending on the routine. And in this case I have like 15, I don't know. The point is I need to switch these 4 and peel it off like that. Notice I have the pinky break all the way at the bottom, and the index pretty much in mechanics grip, but when I stretch it, I need to hold it in position, and the index finger is holding against, because if you don't use the index finger, the cards, they may spin like that, so they may get out of proportion, and the index finger is just holding the cards. When I'm displaying these cards, now this is a little bit more complicated because this is a lot of cards, and because of the demonstration, it was a little bit more tricky, but it really is not that complicated when you're using 1, 2, or up to 4 cards. So when I display the 4 cards, move 2 to the top and 2 at the bottom, as a display. Show the back. Now the reason is because it gives me a little bit more coverage from the audience perspective, and try not to show too much the break. Show the back and show the front. When I show the front, I do this. At the same time, I'm gonna bring it back. Okay, I may show you from the straight up from the front, so like that. Now this is even more complicated because when you switch the 4 cards for this huge bulk, it's going to be more visual and noticeable. So at this point I have the 4 kings, or any 4 of a kind, and then I switch them again for any number of cards. Let's I have like 10 cards again. At least you can make sure they go a little bit over 4 cards. Now this is the resting position when you display, and this is good because when I go back, I try to open the break, and I display the kings, and when I show the back, and this is the resting position of my hand is important, because when I go back to go and pick up the kings, this is when I'm opening the pinky break. Now when I just show the back, show the front, and right at the same time you're gonna flip them down, face down, is at the moment you open the break, like that. Move down in a square, and the switch is done for 4 aces. Now the nice thing is you don't really have to do it 2 times. Only the switch is pretty much for only once for most cases, but it's always, depending on the performances. You may have another setup of 4 cards in the middle. With a crimp, you can do a cut or any shuffle, and then do the switch again for any other 4 of a kind. Now for a one card, which is pretty much the same, the one card switch is actually, make sure they are a little bit more bent up like that. It actually make things much easier. And I show the front. Notice the third finger is going down, just peeling off the top card, and do the switch for any other card. Notice the deck is holder in mechanics grip, and make sure it's completely vertically. Now let's suppose you want to do the switch with one card. Okay, so I want to switch this card, or not necessarily making the switch, but at least you want to do like ambitious card routine. You want to switch the card next to it. Switch is done, so you can pretend you're putting it in the middle, and it goes back to the top. Anyway, for endless reasons, let's say when you show the card, notice the hand is vertically or resting while showing the selection of any card. And before I do this move, notice I just with a third finger pulling the top card down. That's it. Make sure they're bended, so it's a little bit more easier. So when I display, I'm hitting the index finger, so I know it is completely covered the deck. Now it's imperative when doing the switch. Let me pick another card. Is the deck is more towards the spectator's eye level. Otherwise, if they see from 45 degrees, they can see you're picking up the top card with a third finger. So it's better you move it with a wrist. You don't need to move your arms or anything, just the wrist. And do this move right before you go back down on parallel. You do the move. Otherwise, if you don't lift it, they will see the move. Now with one card it is much easier than using 4 cards, but that's the basic principle. Now I'm gonna explain the routine again from over the shoulders. You have 4 cards, you wanna switch from 4. At least make sure you exceed the 4 cards. Now for our performance, I have 8 cards that I need to exceed, because I'm not really counting exactly 8 cards. So at least if I go a little bit over, that's fine. Notice when I show the cards, the index is in front, so the cards doesn't go all the way like that. Otherwise they're gonna spin. So the index helped me a little bit to hold the upper pile in position by holding it against the pinching cards with a 4 and the third finger. So I just open it. At the same time, when you're showing or blocking the front view, open it and go face down everything and square it immediately so they don't see the thickness of the 4 cards being switched. And you have the 4 kings or any 4 of a kind. Again, I'm gonna do it with 4 aces. I'm making sure at least I exceed 4 cards. Display the front and the back. Now the reason I display the back, so I can tilt the wrist, so I don't tilt it suspiciously. You justify a little bit more. Move it face down, and the switch is done.